Anvil Empires is a brand new game that is currently in development by Siege Camp. It'll be a persistent medieval war game between three factions that fight over a huge map spanning literally hundreds of miles. Everything in this game is player-made: bases, armor, weapons, and much more. Today we are going to talk about the new changes that are coming to Anvil Empires, and how you can join in on the pre-alpha tests. A major change that is coming to the infrastructure in Anvil Empires is the introduction of keeps. Keeps will replace the town center as the core structure at the center of towns moving forward. This change was made for two reasons. The first reason the devs stated was because players would surround their town center with walls to protect it, and it made it look very unnatural. And I agree, it was quite ugly. The second reason was with the new addition of the fort building system, which was introduced during DevBlog 14. This was a great opportunity to integrate forts with the core structures of the town. Players will now be able to design larger custom keeps, or heavily integrate them into their surrounding fortress layout. There will be 3 tiers of keeps as seen in the concept art. Keeps will also have full interiors with several floors, making it useful when you're trying to make a last stand during a siege. I really love this change, and I think it's going to make cities look a lot better. It just looked really weird to see walls surrounding this weird little town hall building. I'm really happy with this change. For the next update, the world is expanding once again. This is the 5th time in the last year that the world has grown. The devs have stated that this should be the final expansion of the world, and the intended size that Anvil Empires is meant to be played at. Previous main island was broken up and several other land masses have been added. This new map scale paves the way for systems like trade and naval to exist in the future. This map is absolutely massive. I personally think the devs want the wars to be really long for this game. Instead of 20 or 30 average day wars like we see in Foxhole, I think the devs want 50 plus days for Anvil Empires. Also, I call dibs on setting up a base on this island. I'm just going to set up a nice neutral trade post. Sail on over to my island to buy the best furs that money can buy. The next addition that comes with this update is various aspects of combat that are being heavily worked on. A new set of weapons and new features are explored with this update. First, every weapon now has a movement modifier and a chance to penetrate guard. The sword now has a thrust as its secondary attack mode, which has a higher chance to penetrate guard when compared to the primary slash attack. Next, we have a new weapon, the javelin. This will be a lightweight version of the spear. The javelin can be thrown in quick succession. It can be carried with other primary weapons like swords, and can also be thrown from horseback. I like that they're developing more options for horse combat. The spear, as I just mentioned, has also received upgrades to make it more distinct from the javelin. The spear can now be used in tandem with the shield and has distinct melee and throw modes of attack that can be toggled on and off. We have been waiting for a while now for new combat mechanics and weapons, and I think these changes are a step in the right direction. I wish they would have added 1 or 2 more weapons with this update, but overall these are some great changes. Next, we have a deployment update that involves food. During the early stages of pre-alpha testing, we were able to deploy wherever we wanted. Now food items will serve as reinforcement supplies and are now required to deploy at all locations. If no food is available, then deployment won't be possible. The devs wanted to remove the ability to infinitely spawn at a location. They wanted to enable future scenarios for starving out towns that are under siege. Something unique with this spawn system is that when a player picks a specific type of food to use for deployment, the player will spawn with the benefit of that food automatically applied. This includes buffs like health, stamina, and hunger replenishment. It sounds like we're going to need a lot of players to take on the role of full-time chef, making sure your town has the best foods to spawn with. The next change with this update is a rework for the Underground world. It was served as the initial test for the technical infrastructure that was needed to support this Underworld as it develops more over time. The next phase of development will expand the Underworld from being a small standalone instance to a massive interconnected underground network system with multiple entrances to the surface. Such networks will be like mazes, the devs stated, and will require equipment like torches and fire pits to navigate and survive in. In addition to the rework of the Underworld, mining operations in the Underworld have been completely overhauled as well. Players will now descend into the caves and excavate through massive underground mines to produce minerals like iron and coal. Mineable resources will extend across the cave walls up to the ceiling. Players will need to build specific mining platforms to reach all of these resources. As players dig deeper into the mine, they must place torches to ensure that there's enough light to continue excavating. The devs encourage players to work together in this endeavor, as doing this solo could be more difficult. There's still no mention of building housing type structures in the Underworld. I assume at this point the devs want players to just go in and out. It would be really interesting if at some point players could find a way to live underground and make that their home for the war. And finally, here's one last mechanic coming with the new update. Combat stability system has been added to the game. This system was developed to push further into group tactics and formations in large-scale melee engagements. Players now have a stability stat that can go up and down depending on their equipment. The actions of other players around them affect this stat and other battlefield conditions as well. There are a few basic rules to understand about this new stability mechanic. Every player settles to a base stability value when idle. Being attacked by certain weapons or being charged at by an enemy also reduces stability. Wearing armor can help mitigate these kind of attacks, which helps a player keep their stability. If a player's stability depletes to 0, they are knocked down and stunned for several moments. Lastly, a new pushing mechanic is being introduced which heavily interacts with stability. Players can now push other players. Pushing an enemy lowers their stability, while pushing a friendly player reinforces it. All of these new rules work together to encourage natural and organic formations during melee battles. I really like this new system. There needed to be some more strategy involved with combat, and this system should help with that. Those are all the updates that have recently come out for Anvil Empires. The next pre-alpha test will take place today, September 20th, and will go through the weekend. I would recommend joining the Anvil Empires Discord if you want an invite to the next test. I will leave a link in the description below. I would guess that the devs will have 1 or 2 more tests before the year is over. So if you don't get an invite for this test, you can still join the Discord and get invited for any future tests. What are you most excited to see with these changes? What would you like to see added in the next update? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support. Make sure to subscribe for more Anvil Empires content. I'll see you out on the battlefield. Cheers!